I am Riki, an elder of the Nhari tribe. In our culture, it's believed there are spirits who watch over us from the shadows of the forest. Most of my people see these spirits are nothing more than mysterious forces of nature, guiding the wind, the rain, and the growth of the crops. But my grandfather, Old Raker, had a different story. He called these spirits the hunters of dreams. To the others, his tales were nothing more than the ramblings of an old man, stories to amuse the young ones by the fire. But to me, they were something more. They were a window into a world beyond what we could see, a world filled with possibilities. When I was very young, playing near the edge of the great river, I first felt the strange presence that my grandfather spoke of. I had wandered too far from the village, lost in my own games, when I noticed something unusual, a patch of ground that seemed to shimmer faintly in the sunlight. Curious and adventurous as I was, I moved closer to investigate. But as I neared the shimmering patch, the ground beneath me began to shift and crumble. Before I could react, the earth gave way, and I found myself sliding down a steep embankment toward the rushing river below. Panic seized me as I clawed at the dirt, trying to stop my descent, but it was too late. The river, swollen from recent rains, was ready to swallow me whole. Just as I was about to plunge into the raging waters, I felt something strange, a sudden, forceful pull, like an invisible hand yanking me backward. The world around me blurred, and I felt as though I was being lifted up, out of the danger and into a place of safety. The sensation lasted only a moment, but when it passed, I found myself lying on the soft floor of my family's dwelling, the familiar scent of our home filling my nostrils. My mother was there, and so was my grandfather, Old Raker. At the time, he was the eldest of our tribe, his eyes clouded with age but still sharp with the wisdom of many years. "Grandfather?" I asked, still breathless and bewildered. "How did I get here? I was at the river and then, I don't know." He smiled, the wrinkles on his face deepening. "The hunters of dreams brought you back, little one," he said, his voice deep and raspy. "They watch over us always." At that moment my mother rolled her eyes and left the room. The others in the tribe dismissed his words as the fantasies of an old man. But I was intrigued. "Why do you call them the hunters of dreams?" I asked. "What are they hunting?" Old Raker leaned back, his old bones creaking, and gestured for me to sit closer. The firelight cast long shadows across the room as he began to speak, his voice dipping into the rhythmic cadence of storytelling. "Long ago, before even my father's father was born," he began, "our people were very different. We lived in fear of the unknown, believing that every shadow hid a danger, every whisper carried a curse. We were like leaves caught in the wind, blown about by forces we did not understand. But then the hunters came, not in the flesh, but through the gifts they left behind, the knowledge they guided us to discover. They are not hunters in the way we think of them, chasing prey through the forest. No, they hunt our ignorance, our fear, our limitations. They push us to grow, to learn, to dream beyond the simple lives we once had." He paused, his eyes gleaming as he continued. "I feel in my old bones it was the hunters of dreams who taught our ancestors how to mark symbols on stone and bark, our first steps toward writing. They showed us how to use numbers to measure the world around us, to see the patterns in the stars. They led us to the rivers where we could find the clay to make bricks, and the stone to build strong shelters. They gave us the knowledge to heal our sick with the plants of the forest, to predict the rains by the winds, and to grow food that could sustain us through the harshest seasons." Old Raker leaned closer, his voice dropping to a near whisper, like he was sharing a secret. "There have been times when great disasters have threatened our people, when the rivers have risen to flood our homes, or when the mountains have rumbled with the fury of the earth itself. In those moments, when it seemed as though nothing could save us, the hunters intervened. A flood would suddenly recede, a landslide would stop just short of a village, a volcanic eruption would cease before the lava could reach us. The others say it is the spirits, but I have lived many years, and I have seen the truth. No spirit is so precise, so deliberate. The hunters of dreams are the ones who protect us in those moments, like how they saved you, They guide our fate with a hand unseen. I listened, wide-eyed, absorbing every word. To the others in the village, old rakers' tales were just that, tales, nothing more. But to me, they were something deeper, something that felt true in a way that the old stories of spirits never did. From that day on, the stories stayed with me, like a seed planted deep in my mind. I devoted myself to learning, to understanding the world around me just as my grandfather had done. I sought out the knowledge of the elders, the secrets of the forest, and the mysteries of the sky. I learned to read the patterns in the stars, to predict the weather by the winds, and to measure the world with numbers, just as the hunters had shown our ancestors. But no matter how much I learned, there was always something more, something just beyond my reach, whispering to me from the shadows. I spent my life chasing that whisper, seeking out the traces of the hunters wherever they might be found. Years passed, and I grew older, my hair turning as gray as old Raker's had been when he first told me his tales. The others in the village saw me as an elder now, a man of wisdom and knowledge. But I still felt like a child, still searching for the truth behind the stories my grandfather had told me. One day, not long after the first snow of the season had begun to fall, I ventured farther into the forest than ever before. I had heard rumors from the other children of strange objects hidden deep in the woods, things that did not belong to our world, perhaps remnants of the hunter's presence. Curiosity, as strong in me now as it had been in my youth, pulled me along step by step, until I found myself in a part of the forest where the trees were older, their roots thick and gnarled, and the air seemed to hum with a strange energy. It was there, beneath the twisted roots of a great tree, that I found it, a small hidden doorway, half covered by earth and leaves. It was unlike anything I had ever seen, made of a smooth, hard material that was cold to the touch. My heart pounded with excitement and fear as I pushed the door open, revealing a dark passage leading underground. With hesitant steps, I descended into the darkness, the air growing warmer as I went. At the end of the passage, I entered a large, dimly lit chamber filled with strange devices, their surfaces covered in dust and age. The room hummed softly, as if it had been waiting in silence for countless years. My eyes were drawn to a glowing panel on the far wall, its light faint but steady. I approached it, my fingers trembling as I brushed away the dust. Strange symbols and images flickered across the panel, things I could not understand. But then, as if responding to my touch, the symbols shifted, forming into words in a language I somehow recognized. Terran Federation Monitoring Station, the panel read. My breath caught in my throat. Terran. The word echoed in my mind, resonating with a truth I had always felt but never known. These were the hunters of dreams, the Terrans. They were not spirits or beings of myth, but people from another world, another place, who had come to our world for reasons I could not yet comprehend. I looked around the chamber with new eyes, understanding dawning on me. This was no place of magic or legend. It was a place of knowledge, of technology beyond anything my people could imagine. The Terrans had been watching us, guiding us, protecting us, not through dreams or visions, but through the tools and machines they had left behind, hidden from our sight. As I stood there, the weight of this discovery pressed down on me. The stories of my people, the myths of the spirits, all had a foundation in reality, a reality far more vast and complex than I had ever imagined. The Terrans were real and they had a name. They were not just the stuff of legend. They were a people with a history, a purpose, and perhaps a plan for us. And then I understood. My grandfather had called them the hunters of dreams because they had hunted something precious, not just our fears, but our potential. They had pushed us to grow, to learn, to reach for things we never thought possible. They had hunted our dreams, and in doing so had made us dreamers ourselves. After a while, the words Terran Federation Monitoring Station, still echoing in my mind as I left the chamber, I stepped out into the cold, crisp air of the forest. The stars were just beginning to twinkle in the twilight sky, and as I looked up at them, I felt a longing I had never known before. I gazed up at the stars, my eyes tracing the constellations I had known since I was young. But this time I saw them differently. They were no longer just distant points of light in the sky. They were places, perhaps even homes, for the hunters of dreams. I imagined what it would be like to walk among those stars, to see the worlds that the Terrans came from, to explore the vastness of the universe just as they had. In that moment, a new dream was born within me. A dream to one day walk among the stars, to follow in the footsteps of the hunters of dreams, and to see the wonders they had seen. I smiled to myself, feeling the warmth of that dream settle deep within my heart. I knew that I might never reach those stars, but the dream itself was enough. It was a dream that would carry me through the rest of my days, a dream that would inspire others, just as the hunters had inspired my people. And as I walked back through the forest, the snow falling softly around me, I knew that I had become, in my own way, a hunter of dreams.